An HOA Karen slapped a violation tag on my boat, not a speedboat, not a fishing boat, a U.S. Navy patrol boat. She said, HOA rules apply to everyone. I told her it was federal military property. She laughed and doubled the fine. That's when I realized she had no idea what she just touched. Because once you file paperwork on federal assets, you don't get warnings. You get investigated. And the next people to show up at the marina weren't from the HOA. They were from the government. I never thought a piece of orange paper could change so much. It was early in the morning. The kind of morning where the air feels calm, but heavy. The marina was quiet. Just water gently hitting the docks. No music. No engines. Just the sound of ropes creaking and flags moving in the wind. I had just returned from an overnight patrol. Nothing dramatic. No movie stuff. Just routine work. Long hours. Cold wind. Focus. That kind of job wears you down in a quiet way. I guided the patrol boat into the slip like I always did. Slow. Careful. Exact. The boat was marked clearly. Navy gray. Federal numbers. Insignia visible from a distance. Anyone who knew boats could tell it wasn't recreational. I shut down the engine and sat there for a second. You do that sometimes after a long shift. You don't rush. You just breathe. This marina was attached to a private neighborhood. HOA managed. Clean docks. Fresh paint. Cameras everywhere. Lots of rules. Lots of people who loved rules. I lived nearby. Rented a small place. The marina access came with it. I had approval. Written. Signed. Renewed every year. The Navy coordinated docking there because of proximity and security. Everything was legit. I stepped off the boat and tied it down. I checked the lines twice. Habit. Then I grabbed my bag and started walking up the dock. That's when I saw her. She was standing near the office building. Arms crossed. Sunglasses on. Perfect hair. Perfect posture. The kind of person who looks like they're waiting for someone to mess up. She walked fast. Purposeful. I slowed down. Not because I was nervous. Because I already knew what this was. She stopped right in front of my boat. Didn't ask a question. Didn't say hello. She pulled out a clipboard. You can't park this here, she said. Her voice was sharp. Not loud. Just confident. Like she was used to people obeying. I looked at her. Then at the boat. Then back at her. Ma'am, I said calmly, this is an authorized vessel. She didn't look at me. She was already writing. This marina is for approved residential boats only, she said. HOA rules. I pointed at the markings on the hull. This is a Navy patrol boat. She finally looked up and smiled. Not a friendly smile. A knowing one. I've heard that excuse before, she said. People say all kinds of things. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not anger. More like disbelief. There's no excuse, I said. It's federal property. She shook her head slowly, like I was a child trying to lie my way out of trouble. HOA rules apply to everyone, she said. Even you. She stepped closer to the boat. That's when she did it. She peeled off a bright orange violation tag and slapped it right on the rail. The sound was loud in the quiet marina. Paper hitting metal. I stared at it, then at her. Don't touch that, I said. She ignored me. She checked a box on her clipboard. Unauthorized docking, she said. Non-compliant vessel. You have 24 hours to remove it or fines will begin. I took a breath. Ma'am, I said, slower now, you just tagged a federal military asset. She laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, please, she said. If it were military, it wouldn't be here. She turned to walk away, then stopped and looked back. And don't try to remove the tag. That's another violation. She walked off down the dock like she just won something. I stood there, staring at the orange paper flapping in the breeze. I had dealt with difficult people before. Angry people, scared people, even dangerous people. But this was different. This was someone who truly believed her authority was absolute. I took photos. The tag, the boat, the dock number, the timestamp. Then I called my supervisor. He listened quietly. Then he sighed. "Leave it," he said. "Don't touch anything." "What about the fines?" I asked. "Let them file whatever they want," he said. "We'll handle it." I hung up and looked back at the marina office. She was inside now, talking to someone, smiling again. I went home and tried to sleep, but I couldn't because I knew something she didn't. And once paperwork involving federal property gets filed, it doesn't stay local. I woke up late that afternoon with my phone buzzing. Not ringing, buzzing, over and over. I picked it up and saw missed calls, unknown numbers, voicemails, an email notification from the HOA. That was fast. I opened the email first. Subject: notice of violation. Immediate action required. It listed the boat. Slip number. Time. Photos attached. The orange tag was clearly visible in every picture, like it was proof of a crime. They had already issued a fine. $500. Not a warning. Not a question. A fine. They had checked a box for non-compliance after verbal notice. I sat up slowly. This wasn't just ignorance anymore. This was them choosing to push forward. I listened to the voicemails next. The first one was polite. Too polite. "This is the HOA Compliance Office calling regarding an unauthorized vessel. Please contact us immediately to resolve the issue." The second one was firmer. "If the vessel is not removed within 24 hours, additional penalties will apply." The third one wasn't polite at all. "This is your final notice. Continued refusal to comply will result in enforcement action." I didn't call back. I already knew that wouldn't help. Instead, I drove back to the marina. The sun was lower now. More people were out. Joggers, couples, retirees walking dogs. Everyone loved to watch things happen at the docks. Drama traveled fast in places like that. The boat was exactly where I left it, but the tag wasn't alone anymore. There was another paper taped underneath it, a second notice. I stood there reading it while a couple nearby pretended not to stare. The fine had doubled. Now it was $1,000. Reason given: failure to remove unauthorized vessel. Tampering suspected. Tampering. I hadn't touched a thing. I took more photos. Close-ups. Wide shots. Timestamps again. Then I noticed something else. A red zip tie. They had looped it through one of the safety rails and attached a small plastic lock. Not strong. Not serious. But symbolic. They had restrained the boat. I felt my jaw tighten. Not anger. Control. I stepped back and scanned the dock. The Karen was there again, standing near the office, talking animatedly to a man in a polo shirt. Probably a board member. She saw me. She walked over like she'd been waiting all day. "You're still here," she said. I didn't respond. I crouched and examined the zip tie without touching it. "You were warned," she said. "Now you're accruing penalties. You restrained federal property." I said quietly. She rolled her eyes. "Stop saying that," she snapped. "If this were federal, I'd know." I stood up. "Did you file the violation report?" I asked. She smiled again. "Of course I did, and I documented everything." "Where did you send it?" I asked. She hesitated for half a second. Then she recovered. "To the county, to the Marina Authority. Standard procedure." That half second told me everything, because the Marina Authority didn't have jurisdiction over that vessel. But the moment she sent documentation claiming an illegal asset, those documents didn't just stop. They got forwarded. Automatically. I took a slow breath. "I'm advising you," I said, "to remove that restraint and withdraw the violation." She laughed again. "You don't advise me," she said. "I enforce the rules." I nodded. "Okay," I said. That was it. I turned and walked away. Behind me, I heard her call out, "And don't even think about moving it. We'll tow it if we have to." That stopped me. I turned back slowly. "If you touch that boat," I said, "you'll regret it." She folded her arms. "Threats now," she said loudly, making sure others heard. Typical. I left. That night, I got another email. The fines were now listed as pending lien eligibility. They were preparing to escalate. I forwarded everything to my supervisor. Every photo, every notice, every email. He called me 10 minutes later. They zip-tied it, he asked. Yes, I said. There was a pause. That's a problem, he said. For them? For them, he confirmed. The next morning, I got a knock on my door. Not the HOA. 2 men in plain clothes. They showed credentials. Federal. They didn't ask many questions. They already had the reports. The HOA filing. The marina logs. The photos she proudly uploaded. They claimed it was abandoned private property. One of them said. I shook my head. They also reported suspected tampering by the owner. The other added. I almost laughed. Did they? I said. They nodded, which triggered automatic review. The first agent said. Especially once military was mentioned. They asked me not to touch the boat, not to contact the HOA, not to warn anyone. Let it play out, one of them said. I asked what would happen. We'll see how far they go, he said. That afternoon, the HOA sent another notice. This one was printed and hand-delivered. The Karen herself taped it to my door. Final notice before enforcement. They planned to tow the boat in 48 hours. I stared at the paper for a long time. Then I folded it neatly and waited, because once they tried to tow it, it wouldn't just be an HOA issue anymore. It would be a federal one, and they had no idea what was coming. The 48 hours felt longer than they should have. Time slows down when you're waiting for someone else to make a mistake. Not because you want trouble, but because you can see it coming, and there's nothing you're supposed to do to stop it. I didn't go near the marina that day. That wasn't hard. I was told not to, and honestly, I didn't want to. Every instinct told me to step in, explain, argue, but that would only give them something to point at. So I stayed home. I checked my phone more than I should have. No new emails. No calls. No updates. That silence wasn't comforting. It was heavy. Early the next morning, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Are you near the marina? It was one of the federal agents. I replied right away. No. Good, he said. Don't go. That was all. I stood by my window and looked outside, like I could somehow see the docks from miles away. I couldn't, but I could imagine it. The morning was bright, clear skies, calm water, perfect conditions for something to go wrong. Around mid-morning, my phone rang. This time, it was the marina manager. I'd never spoken to him before. Sir, he said, sounding tense, we have a situation. I didn't answer right away. What kind of situation? I asked. There's a tow operator here, he said. The HOA authorized it. I closed my eyes. Is the boat damaged? I asked. No, he said quickly. Not yet. Are they touching it? I asked. They're preparing, he said. I didn't think we could do this, but the HOA insisted. I took a slow breath. Listen carefully, I said. Do not let them move it. I don't know if I can stop them, he said. Then don't help them, I said, and document everything. He hesitated. I'll do what I can, he said. The call ended. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a photo. The boat, my boat, a large commercial tow truck, was parked at the edge of the marina, thick straps laid out on the dock. 2 men in work, vests standing beside them, and right there, pointing at the boat like a director on a set, the Karen. She looked confident, relaxed, like this was exactly how she planned it. The message underneath the photo was short. They crossed a line. I didn't reply. I didn't need to, because from that moment on, it wasn't about me anymore. The tow operator did what tow operators do. They follow instructions. They rely on paperwork. And the HOA gave them plenty. Violation notices, authorization forms, photos, signatures. What they didn't give them was jurisdiction. The first strap went around the hull. That's when someone finally spoke up. A dock worker. Young guy. Probably didn't want to be there. I think this might be military, he said. The Karen waved him off. People lie all the time, she said. We've verified nothing. Those words would matter later. Very much later. The second strap went on. That's when the marina manager stepped in. "I'm not comfortable with this," he said. "There may be legal issues." The Karen snapped back. "This is HOA property," she said. "We decide." She turned to the tow operator. "Proceed." And he did. At that exact moment, 2 black SUVs rolled into the parking lot. No lights, no sirens, just calm, intentional. They stopped. Doors opened. 4 people stepped out. Plain clothes, calm posture, no rush. The marina went quiet. You can feel silence when it arrives like that. The first agent walked straight up to the tow operator. "Who authorized this?" he asked. The tow operator pointed at the Karen. She stepped forward, chin up. "I did," she said. "This vessel is in violation of HOA rules." The agent nodded. "Are you aware this is a federally registered Navy patrol vessel?" he asked. She laughed. Again. "No," she said. "And even if it were, it doesn't belong here." The second agent held up a badge. "Step away from the boat," he said. Her smile faded just a little. "Excuse me," she said. "Step away," he repeated. "Now." The tow operator froze. The dock workers backed up. People were filming now. The Karen looked around, suddenly unsure. "Who are you?" she demanded. "We're here because you filed a report involving federal property," the first agent said. "I filed an HOA violation," she snapped, "and reported suspected tampering," the agent added. She opened her mouth, then closed it. The agents walked around the boat, took photos, noted the straps, the zip tie, the tag. They spoke quietly to the tow operator. He unhooked the straps immediately. No arguments. The Karen's voice got louder. "You can't just show up and interfere," she said. "This is private property." The agent turned to her. "No," he said calmly. "This is not." He gestured to the markings. "You interfered with federal assets," he said, "and contracted a third party to remove them." Her face went pale. "I was enforcing rules," she said weakly. "You were exceeding authority," he said. They asked for her identification. She handed it over with shaking hands. They asked for the HOA board contacts. She gave them. They asked for all documentation. She said it was in the office. They walked with her. The marina manager watched from a distance. The dock workers didn't move. The tow operator packed up and left without a word. By the time the agents returned, the Karen was quiet, very quiet. They placed a seal over the tag. Then one of them called me. "It's done," he said. "You can relax." "What happens now?" I asked. He paused. "Now," he said, "they explained themselves." I went to the marina later that evening. The boat was untouched. The tag was gone. The zip tie was cut, and taped to the marina office door was a notice: HOA operations temporarily suspended. Under review, people stood around reading it, whispering. I walked past them and looked at the water. It was calm again, but everything had changed. The notice stayed on the marina office door for 3 days. Every time I passed by, there were different people standing in front of it, reading it slowly, taking pictures, whispering to each other like something dangerous might hear them. HOA operations temporarily suspended, under review. Those words carried weight. The marina felt different after that. Quieter, careful, like everyone was waiting to see who would speak next and who would disappear. I didn't hear from the Karen. Not a call, not an email, nothing. That silence was louder than anything she had said before. On the 4th day, I got a letter in my mailbox. Not an email, not a notice taped to my door. A real letter, cream-colored paper, formal tone. It was from the HOA board. They were calling an emergency board meeting. Attendance requested, not required. Requested. I smiled at that word. Requested. The meeting was scheduled for that evening at the community center. Same place they held holiday parties and budget votes. Folding chairs. Long table at the front. Cheap microphone. I showed up early. Not because I was eager. Because I wanted to see who else would be there. People trickled in slowly. Neighbors. Marina users. Board members I recognized from past meetings where nothing ever really happened. The Karen wasn't there yet. I took a seat near the back. I didn't want attention. I didn't want to speak unless I had to. The room filled up more than usual. People had heard. When the board members finally took their seats, they looked tired. Not annoyed. Not angry. Tired. The board president cleared his throat. "Thank you all for coming on short notice," he said. "We are aware of the recent incident involving the marina." He chose his words carefully. Incident, not mistake. He went on. "We are cooperating fully with an external review. Until that process is complete, certain HOA operations are paused." Someone raised their hand. "What kind of review?" a man asked. The board president hesitated. "Legal," he said. Another hand shot up. "Federal?" someone asked. The room went quiet. "Yes," the president said. That single word changed the air in the room. People shifted in their seats, whispered, looked around. This wasn't neighborhood drama anymore. This was serious. The Karen arrived late. She walked in like she always had. Chin high, confident steps. But something was different. Her shoulders were tight. Her face was pale. Her smile was gone. She took a seat at the table, not at the center, off to the side. The board president glanced at her, then looked away. That told me everything. They started reviewing the timeline, the violation notice, the fines, the attempted tow. They didn't use names at first, but everyone knew. Then the question started. "Who authorized the tow?" someone asked. The board president shifted uncomfortably. "Our compliance officer acted within her understanding of the rules," he said. The Karen straightened. "I followed protocol," she said sharply. "The vessel violated HOA regulations." A murmur went through the room. I stayed quiet. The board president raised a hand. "At this time," he said, "we must acknowledge that federal jurisdiction supersedes HOA authority." The Karen turned to him. "You're siding against me?" she snapped. "This isn't about sides," he said calmly. "It's about law." She laughed once. Short, bitter. "You're throwing me under the bus," she said. That's when a man stood up. Older, Navy cap in his hand. "I served 20 years, he said. That boat was clearly marked. The Karen shook her head. "No," she said. "It wasn't clear." I finally stood up. I didn't plan to. It just happened. "It was clear," I said. Every head turned. "I told you," I continued, keeping my voice steady, more than once. The Karen looked at me like I betrayed her. "You're exaggerating," she said. I pulled out my phone. "I have photos," I said, time-stamped, with the markings visible. The board president held up a hand. "We don't need to review those here," he said. "They've already been submitted." Submitted? Her face fell. The board moved on to the next item, the restraint. "Who authorized the zip tie?" a board member asked. The Karen opened her mouth, then stopped. No one else spoke. The silence stretched. Finally, she said, "I did." The board president sighed. "That was a mistake," he said. She stood up abruptly. "I was doing my job," she said. "You all supported strict enforcement." "Yes," he replied. "Within limits." "What limits?" she snapped. "Legal ones," he said. Someone in the crowd clapped. Just once. Then another person did. Then a few more. The board president waited for it to die down. "We have been advised," he said, "to suspend compliance officer pending review." The Karen's head snapped up. "You can't do that," she said. "We can," he replied. "And we are." Her voice cracked. "This is unfair," she said. "I enforce the rules." "You exceeded them," he said gently. That word hit harder than any accusation. Exceeded. She looked around the room, at faces that weren't backing her up anymore. "This HOA is nothing without enforcement," she said. "It's nothing without restraint," someone replied from the crowd. She grabbed her bag and walked out. The door closed behind her with a soft click. No drama. No shouting. Just finality. The board president rubbed his temples. "We will be refunding all fines related to the incident," he said, "and covering any costs incurred." I nodded. The meeting wrapped up shortly after. As people left, several stopped to talk to me. to apologize, to thank me, to ask questions. I answered what I could. Outside, the air was cool. I sat in my car for a moment before leaving. This wasn't over. The review was still ongoing, and consequences don't always arrive in meetings. Sometimes they arrive quietly, in letters, in courtrooms, in decisions made behind closed doors. And I knew that Karen was about to learn that. After the board meeting, things didn't go back to normal. They never do. On the surface, everything looked calm. The marina reopened. The office lights were back on. Emails from the HOA started again, careful and polite this time. But underneath, something was still moving. I could feel it. A week after the meeting, I got another knock on my door. Same calm knock, same pause between taps. This time it was one agent, not two. He didn't come inside. We stood in the hallway. "The review is almost done," he said. I nodded. I figured. He looked at me for a moment. "You did everything right," he said. "That matters." I didn't respond. I wasn't looking for reassurance. "What happens now?" I asked. He took a breath. "When a civilian organization interferes with federal property," he said, "we look at intent, scope, and pattern." "Pattern?" I asked. He nodded. "This wasn't the first complaint she filed," he said. "Just the first one that hit something federal. That surprised me." He continued. "She documented aggressively," he said. "Filed reports quickly, escalated without verification." "That sounds like her," I said. He gave a small smile. "Documentation cuts both ways," he said. A few days later, the Karen's name disappeared from HOA emails. Not announced, not explained, just gone. Another compliance officer's name appeared instead. Neutral, careful language. No threats, no bold red text. The marina manager told me quietly that she hadn't been back. Not to her office, not to the docks. Her parking spot stayed empty. People noticed. They talked. Speculation filled the gaps where facts weren't shared. She's on leave. She quit. They fired her. No one knew for sure. Then the letters started going out. Certified mail. One went to me. One went to the HOA board. One went to the Marina Authority. They were all different, but they shared the same header. Federal review complete. The letter to me was simple. It stated that the vessel was confirmed as federal military property, that unauthorized interference had occurred, that no fault was found on my part, and that all fines, notices, and records related to the incident were nullified. There was a paragraph at the end. It thanked me for my cooperation. That was it. No drama. No threats. Just closure. The HOA board letter was longer. Much longer. I didn't see it, but the board president summarized it for me later. The HOA had exceeded its authority. The restraint and attempted tow were violations. Corrective measures were required. Policy changes were mandated. Training was required. And any further interference would carry penalties. Serious ones. The Marina Authority received similar instructions. Everyone was put on notice. Then there was a last letter. The one the Karen received. I didn't see that one either. But I heard about it. She told someone. That someone told someone else. And eventually, the story made its way back to me. The letter outlined potential civil liability. It mentioned interference with federal operations. It advised her to seek legal counsel. Immediately, after that, she vanished completely. No sightings. No messages. Her house went quiet. A for sale sign appeared in the yard a month later. I stood on the dock one evening, watching the sunset. The boat rocked gently in the water. Same slip, same view. Everything looked the same. But it wasn't. People treated the marina differently now. Less entitlement. More caution. Rules were still there, but they were applied carefully. Questions were asked before actions were taken. Authority softened. The marina manager stopped by. "I should have spoken up sooner," he said. "You did when it mattered." I replied. He nodded. "I won't forget that," he said. "Neither would I. Because this whole thing wasn't about winning. It wasn't about revenge. It was about limits. About understanding that power isn't something you assume. It's something that's defined. And when you ignore that, reality corrects you. Sometimes gently, sometimes not. A few weeks later, I got a final call from the agent. All settled, he said. Is it really? I asked. For you, he said. I hung up and sat there for a while. The water was calm. The marina was quiet. Life moved on. But I knew this story would stay with me. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was real. Because one person believed rules gave her control over everything. And the law reminded her that they didn't. Things don't end with a bang most of the time. They end quietly. That's what surprised me the most. After everything settled, after the letters and meetings and changes, life didn't suddenly feel victorious. It just felt calmer, like a storm had passed and left the air cleaner, even if the damage wasn't obvious at first glance. I kept using the marina. Same slip, same routine. Early mornings, late evenings. The water never changed how it greeted me. It didn't care about rules or authority. It just moved the way it always had. But people had changed. They smiled more but carefully. Conversations felt lighter but measured. The marina staff double-checked everything now. Permits, logs, communications. No one rushed to enforce anything. They asked first. That alone told me the impact had lasted. One afternoon, I ran into the board president near the docks. He looked different than he had at the meeting. Less tense, more human. Got a minute? He asked. I nodded. We stood looking out at the water. I want you to know, he said, this forced us to look at ourselves. I didn't say anything. We thought strict enforcement meant good governance, he continued. But we forgot about judgment. I nodded slowly. Rules matter, I said, but so does knowing when not to push. He sighed. We lost sight of that, he said. She pushed because we rewarded pushing. That was the first time I heard someone admit it out loud. She didn't act alone, he added. No one ever does, I said. He thanked me again. Not formally, just as a person. Then he walked away. A few weeks later, I noticed new signage at the marina. Nothing dramatic, just small additions. Authorized vessels only. Questions before action. Contact marina management prior to enforcement. Those words mattered more than people realized. They weren't about control. They were about restraint. I never saw the Karen again. Not at the docks. Not at the store. Not driving through the neighborhood. Her house sold quickly. Someone else moved in. Life filled the space she left behind. That's how it always goes. One evening, I sat on the dock longer than usual. The sky was turning orange. The water reflected it in broken pieces. I thought about how close this had come to going wrong. If I had argued more, if I had touched the tag, if I had tried to move the boat myself, any of that would have changed the outcome. I realized something then. Patience wasn't weakness. It was precision. I had let the system work because I trusted it to correct itself. And it had. Not loudly, not dramatically, but completely. A younger dock worker sat nearby, dangling his feet in the water. You're the Navy guy, right? He asked. I smiled. Yeah, I said. My dad told me what happened, he said. Said it was crazy. I shrugged. It was avoidable, I said. He nodded. Guess rules aren't everything, he said. Rules are important. I replied, but knowing where they stop is just as important. He thought about that, then smiled and went back to watching the water. That moment stayed with me, because stories like this don't spread because of drama. They spread because people recognize something familiar in them. The fear of losing control, the temptation to overreach, the belief that authority makes you untouchable, and the quiet reminder that it doesn't. Months later, everything felt normal again, but better. The marina ran smoother. The HOA stopped acting like a police force. Neighbors talked more, listened more. I docked the boat one last time before a long reassignment. As I stepped off, I looked at the rail where the orange tag had once been. There was no mark left, no residue, no reminder, just clean metal. I ran my hand along it and smiled, not because I'd won, but because things had returned to where they belonged, in balance, I locked up and walked away. The water kept moving. The marina kept breathing. And the rules stayed where they should have been all along, within their limits.